All right, I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I put allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Next, we have roll call. We're doing okay. Please go around and
Matt Lancaster's here.
Mike Rammer's here. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We have 6 board members. We have a quorum, so we will proceed. Next, we have identification of potential conflict of interest. Any conflicts of interest with board members on any items that anybody wants to call out? If not, we'll move on. Next is correspondence or communication from board and staff. The only thing I'll say is I met with East Central Planning Commission on Friday. It was a very good discussion swirling around trying to get some funding and some action towards getting KK updated and improved. Part of that discussion, also there's a lot of tools and resources available to the village through East Central Planning Commission. One of those is economic development. So I had invited them to come to our next meeting in June to talk about Harrison and commercial development. So more to come next month.
I know one thing.
Okay, trustee.
Yeah, I just like to say, we had an incident this week with, or last week where Spunday came on fire lane 12 and 13 and they were clearing up the power lines for the trees and they left a lot of huge branches and stumps throughout the ditches on fire lane 12 and 13 and the DPW group did a really good job in picking all that up in the last couple of days. You know, we just had that brush pickup here this week, so they did a phenomenal job. And it wasn't really their job to do it. Spunday did it, and without notification of Harrison. But kudos to Jeff Funk and his crew; they did a great job this week. So I got several calls here today that people are really happy that was all cleaned up.
Okay.
So thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Always not here. Moving on, we have trustee Lancaster.
Thank you. I just want 2 things. First one being truck traffic on Coop. I've seen trucks now also going north on Coop from Midway back out to KK with Appleton working on their industrial park. I think we need to get into some fall discussions with Appleton on what the plans are there. Because they are moving some more dirt and looks like they're maybe going to do some paving this year, so being proactive. The east side of the road is Harrison jurisdiction. I think there needs to be some, either we're gonna have to do something with trucks not going that way, or they're going to need to do some kind of safe passage on the west side of Coop. They have plenty of area there. There's a lot of bikers and walkers and things, and having that truck traffic just really increases the hazards there. So if Appleton's going to want trucks to go that way, perhaps they can put a trail in or sidewalks on their side.
Chad, you'll look into that with
Yes.
Appleton. Thank you.
I thought this issue come up about a year ago. And Appleton said that they had the right to do that during construction period of that road. This came up in the past. But listen, we should need to call them again.
Sure. And then the other thing, I know staff's working on this, but just for anybody that's also selecting the recording later, just because your assessments change does not mean taxes are going up. There's a lot of information that the assessor is supposed to be putting in the notices and everything to further explain a lot more, but just that people are aware that the housing market has drastically changed out here and look for further information.
Correct. Thank you. Next up, we have correction approval of the previous meeting minutes. Looks like we have April meeting minutes to approve. If I can get a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve April 29, 2025 meeting minutes as printed and circulated.
Got a motion by trustee Baldwin,
I'll second it.
and we got a second by trustee Brentmeyer. Go ahead and vote your ballot. And the minutes have been approved unanimously. Next up, we're on to public comments. Looks like we have John Pirelli. Keel, yeah. Would you like to come and speak? Sure. Okay. You can come up here to the microphone. Sure. Here? Yeah, right up there, thanks. Name and address, please.
My name's John, last name's Keel, Kuehl. I live at 8576 North Shore Road. And I'm here to propose the development behind their property. It's my understanding that it was classified as a wetland. Kind of shocked that we would allow wetlands to be filled in, forests and the woods to be destroyed, just to put a few houses in there. There's a lot of wildlife that lives back there, and there's a pair of cranes that come and roost in there on occasion, and they are protected. Most of my neighbors, I shouldn't speak for my neighbors, I'm sorry, they're not happy about either, but so I just want to make my voice heard that I don't think it's a good idea to fill in this property. Just, there's acres and acres of property for sale up and down this highway right here that are for sale for development. I just don't think it's in the best interest of the village to get rid of wetlands and woods that exist there. I'm not sure that is a wetland. There's a lot of water sits in there. I'm not sure how they're going to drain that if they were to build, which is a concern because it's already, my backyard's very wet, usually towards that property, and the rest of that land in there too is pretty wet. They had it surveyed, it was, I believe, last year, the year before, and they just had stakes all over where it's wet. So I don't know what everybody else thinks of it, but I just want to make my point heard. So thank you.
Okay. I think you'll find out more information as the topic comes up in the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next we have a presentation from Justin Fisher from Baird.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you. So tonight is really going to be kind of a follow-up to what we discussed at the end of last year when we were talking about the two different larger capital building projects. Last year, we did the financing for 2 years worth of capital items. This year was focused on the building related projects. And the strategy again was to keep both financings at $10 million or less. With this financing, where we're going to be using some of your fund balance, your reserves, to reduce the borrowing size. So tonight, I'll go through a quick market update. We'll go through the financing summary and timeline, detailed long-term financing illustration, and finish off with the general obligation borrowing capacity bar chart. So market update. It's continues to be a wild market. Even today you saw the stock market kind of go a little crazy, but same thing's been going on with interest rates. We saw things settling down early in the year around that February, March timeframe. And then once the tariff news came, on board, that shot interest rates up for a period of time, almost 1%, pretty quick overnight. Since then, things have settled down. There's been additional, delays in the tariffs, certain things and deals have been made, etc. The market has settled down tremendously to where we are pretty much back to where we were early April. So it just took a few weeks for things to settle down. We're back to more normalized interest rates. So let's kind of go into the first page of the presentation. One page prior to this. Yep, thank you. So the not to exceed borrowing amount is going to be $9,500,000. So that's what we've been planning for. You're going through the bid process right now. One the bids for the public works facility. That came in less than anticipated, so that's great news. So we're able to potentially reduce that piece. We're waiting for the fire station. Again, hopefully that comes in at or below, and then we're gonna be using around $3 million in reserves in addition to that. So again, this is a not to exceed borrowing amount of $9,500,000. It will be likely less, assuming the fire station comes in at or below what is anticipated at the $6.5 million. So the structure maturing March 1, 2026 to 2045, so a 20-year financing. First interest being March 1, 2026, callable March 1, 2033, or any date thereafter. So, and that's when we can take a look at refinancing or paying it off if it makes economic sense to do so. The estimated interest rate is a 4.75%, which should be conservative. But again, it's still very volatile day over day, but I feel pretty good we will achieve that or better than that rate. And then the maximum parameter rate would be a 5%. So if all of a sudden we see something happen like early April where interest rates spike, that's where we'll probably want to hold off and wait things hopefully settle down before we jump into the market. And that's where I'll be talking to Alyssa and Chad pretty consistently about that type of stuff. So tonight, the village board considered the plan of finance parameters resolution, authority for the sign off of the note sale within designated parameters, delegated the village manager or finance director treasurer. Preparations are made for the issuance. So the official statement that's been already put together, that's in good shape. So that again contains all the financial information about the village. It's going to go out to potential buyers of these bonds. The bond rating that we already had our call with Moody's, where they did affirm already the AA1 bond credit rating, which is again the second highest bond credit rating you can receive as a municipality. So kudos to you. You're in very good financial shape. It's a great rating to have. And ultimately, the better the bond credit rating, the lower the interest rates you're going to receive, because it shows how financially well you're doing. And then if the market is strong and meet board's parameters, sell the notes. We're thinking, after the fire station bids come in, and we're talking with Chad and Alyssa, when we feel good about where things are at, that's when we'll start looking at jumping into the market. And then closing would occur around that June 26th of 2025 timeframe. So going to the next page. So this is the detailed long-term financing illustration. This is something I've shown you year over year. The left side of the page, this is the existing levy supported debt service on an annual basis. So you can see over time that debt, drops to a point where by 2035, it's completely off your books. The middle of the page, that's what we're talking about tonight. That's kind of broken out between the two capital items. And then to the right of that is your existing debt service, taking your outstanding annual principal and interest plus the middle of the page, hypothetical borrowing. The far right side of the page says, okay, this is going to be up to you as future board decisions on what you would like to do, but looking at the 5-year capital improvement plan and doing that long-term planning with Alyssa and Chad, we modeled in, say, a $6.6 million financing in 2027 for a variety of different capital items, and then $3.6 million type financings every year going forward to continue to improve, get those necessary equipment, roads, etc. Completed. So we've modeled that in, and again, that's going to be up to future you and the board to decide on what that officially looks like. But we wanted to model it in for your planning purposes. So, like I said, Moody's did review all this stuff. They appreciated the long-term planning, and while this is a larger financing for the village, they didn't have any concerns because you've got a good long-term plan put in place and keep managing this debt. There isn't anything tremendous into the future. So going to the page 4 here, this is an illustration. So municipalities can borrow up to 5% of your equalized valuation on a TIBIN basis. Your valuation has grown pretty substantially over the number of years, as you kind of just mentioned, to the point where you're about $2 billion in valuation. how you can read this is the black bars in this bar chart is your outstanding, principal outstanding. The blue is what we're talking about tonight, so that's stacked on top. And then kind of the goldish is that future, financing kind of going on for forever to make sure we model that into the overall plan. The gray is what you would have remaining, assuming you grow at 2.5%. You've been growing much faster than 2.5%. But to be conservative in our planning, we want to just model out 2.5%. And you can see you still got, after this financing, about $81 million in capacity. No reason to go anywhere near it, but just to kind of give you a picture of you're doing very well with managing your debt and capital items, and being very prudent when you go about them. So, any questions for me?
I just have one. I've been hearing that the Fed is gonna be cutting interest rates possibly in June and July. Is that gonna impact that by?
That has more to do with short-term interest rates, so the investment side of the, what you're investing your general fund monies in, that's gonna have more of an impact on that. The longer-term debt isn't gonna have as much of an impact. And when we've seen the cuts, say, when they did it last year, we actually saw longer-term rates go up.
Yes.
So it's not really correlated, as one would kind of think. So short term, and they are talking June. It could absolutely happen. It may happen more in like the September timeframe.
Trustee Mullins got a question.
Oh, trustee Ball.
Mr. President, I'm not expecting you to predict the future, and I know that there are so many unknowns, but based on experience with this kind of borrowing, and I'm looking at this, existing plus new mill rate, what impact, if any, is this borrowing? I know 9.5 is the not to exceed, but what impact is this likely to have on taxes? Up, down, stay the same, or is that all under our control?
So if we go to the prior page, on that far right side of the page, this model's in that total combined mill rate for debt service. And you can see that right now, the debt service mill rate is about 69 cents per $1,000 of valuation. That's anticipated to go from 69 cents to about $1. And then to $1.03 and then modeling out the future. So there is going to be an impact for taking on this financing, which is about 30 cents per $1,000 or about $30 per $100,000 of valuation. Yeah.
Trustee Lancaster.
Just a follow-up to that, and I have one other question. However, it is really the debt service mill rate portion gets adjusted. It is in this board's full control overall as we budget of what our true net mill levy is at the end of the day. Is that correct?
That is correct. To the point where you may need to adjust the other side, which is your operational side. The debt side is on the other side.
So one of the things that we had trustee Baldwin and Melissa can certainly explain more. We have a lot of other triggers in our budget of levers we can pull.
Right.
Such as the impact fees that can go toward. Also, we have the increased shared revenue from the state as well. And so with those kind of things, this isn't necessarily going to increase taxes by borrowing this if we would pull other levers.
Right.
Yep, just the debt service mill rate. Yep.
And then I had one follow-on question, if I may.
Yeah.
As far as callable in 2033.
Yep.
Do you have to call the entire amount, or is the village able to call a certain portion?
You can call as much or as little as you like on that particular day or any date thereafter.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay,
Okay,
is that it?
that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, we have reports. Any questions on any of the reports from the various departments? I guess the only thing I'll say is for the Climate County Sheriff Department, I appreciate the increased patrol, at least on Hooper Road. You've been noticing a lot more presence there, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone have any thoughts or comments on any of the reports?
If I may, under the village manager, just one thing we did finalize and roll out this past weekend, C-Click Fix. So it's a new portal for people to report complaints, non-emergency complaints to the village. And we've gotten a few over the weekend, but it's another means for people to make sure that their concern gets right to their respective departments, so we can follow up on it electronically, and it's tied to our website and gets assigned a property, and then we get a response from the respective department heads. So that's that was the third module. We had purchased a website, Unicode meetings, and C-Click Fix through Civic Plus.
So that's just been implemented, so we'll see how that,
We rolled it out this past weekend.
good, so then. Maybe give us an update then
Sure.
for next month, see how things are going with it.
Question, what's the approximate turnaround time for a boarding person to get a response?
I would say 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, all right, thank you. That is,
That's why I started on vacation, and I mean, over like the weekend, holiday weeks, obviously, a little bit longer. But Jeff, most of them are going to the operations manager, and he's been following up almost daily on it.
okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Charlie, sorry, I do have two questions.
Sure, go ahead.
For the finance director. Is there anywhere in here or something we could get to know balances in our various impact fee account?
Yeah, and certainly we can do that for you, see that going forward, obviously, next month, I have.
That would be great, just so we can kind of see, because we might need to pull some levers for various projects, so we can know how that's going. Thank you. And then I had Parks and Trails report, I also had a question.
Okay.
What are we doing around? Maybe it was in the road budget, I'm just not remembering the road contracts this year, but. What are we doing around Farmers Field? That's like gravel, is that gravel trail that starts at the road and it goes around the sledding hill and all that, that originally was gravel and it's really filled in with grass right now along where the lights are and stuff, and it's kind of. Looking not as nice anymore, are we paving that this year, or what are we doing there?
We did have that in there to be paid. It's gonna depend on how much this new pavilion costs. But it is in our capital plan to get done this year. I think we were gonna try to do it this fall.
I guess, and I can't speak for us and my fellow board members, but seeing that we have over $1 million in park impact fees. Not knowing the exact latest totals, but the last totals I saw, there was over $1 million there. Even with this pavilion, I really would like to see that paid this year because it's looking really shabby and people can start. We're doing more out there so people can get more use of the park. We've got the lighting we invested in all around there and stuff, so I
Yeah, we can talk.
think that's an important step.
Sure.
I have one more question for Parks and Trails. When are the new lights gonna be reconnected at Dartmouth Community Park? You know, we had.
So the WP, so there was a fiasco with the We Energies terminating the application that I submitted for power. And the contractor has claimed that they will be installed by June 7th, so they will be on right around that time.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions on the reports? Next up is round 10, approval of bills and claims. You should have those in front of you. You looking for a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills and claims, but I do have a question once we get a second.
We have a motion by trustee Lancaster.
I'll second it.
Now we got a second by trustee Van Hefty.
Can I ask my question, Mr. Beverly?
Discussion, trustee Lancaster.
Thank you. So, question I got asked by somebody, looking at what we pay for refuse and recycling, are we charged per ton? The reason why I'm asking, because the amounts do fluctuate a little bit, so I'm assuming that we do get paid by column. And if we do, I know our program assistant, she's really passionate about recycling. And I just feel there might be an educational opportunity for the community of why it's, besides just the normal benefits of recycling, but that recycling does actually save the money at the end of the day as well. So,
Yeah, we can look into that. I'm pretty sure it's by the time. Good.
Any further questions on the bills and claims? Please vote your ballot. And we have a unanimous vote on passing bills and claims for April 2025. Since there are no new, and there isn't any old business for discussion, we'll move on to new business.
All right, so item A is zoning map amendment, rezoning Dirk Stewart LLC for North Shore Road and Highway 114, parcels 39522 and 39526. And the motion is to approve the zoning map amendments from general agricultural to single family residential as submitted.
We're gonna need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning map amendment, rezoning Dirks DeWitt LLC, North Shore Highway Road 114 parcels 39522 and 39526. It's printed and circulated.
Gonna need a second.
also.
Second by trustee Teal. Discussion.
Yes, same question. What, I know in the past we used to have whether or not or how the planning commission ruled on this, and I don't see that, so did the planning commission
The
approve this?
commission did approve this after a very detailed discussion and went through a lot of different points. They did recommend it.
Okay, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I don't know if that's something we could have on there, just so that we're kind of in concert, at least you know how they waited on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Trustee Lancaster?
I'll just reserve, I have a quick couple questions, but I'll reserve them for the next part of this, which is the preliminary plot, so I'm okay with the zoning.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, go ahead and vote your ballot.
I'm sorry, I'm having some trouble here. One second.
You can just go voice vote if you want to.
And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12B.
This is the preliminary plat for Forest Ridge subdivision, Dirk Stewart LLC, North Shore Highway and Highway 114, parcels 39522 and 39526. The motion is to approve the preliminary plat for the Forest Ridge subdivision, subject to the conditions 1 through 20 listed below.
We're gonna need a motion in a second.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plots. Forest Ridge subdivision, Dirks DeWitt LLC, North Shore Road, Highway 114, parcels 39522 and 39526 is printed and circulated with 20 conditions that we went through with the planning commission, and then staff has put into this memo here.
So we got a motion by Van Hefty.
I'll second it.
We got a second by trustee Brentmeyer. Chad, also, I think the gentleman earlier asked about wetlands. Maybe you could talk directly and let them know what the plan is for dealing with the wetlands.
Yeah, so there is a number of parcels in the plat that are subject to wetland issues. By DNR requirements, they need to go through a permitting process to be able to get those wetland permitted to fill them. The DNR ultimately will decide which ones can be or can't be filled. Typically, that process happens after the preliminary and the final plats are finalized. They're able to go in by lot and give recommendations for the DNR to fill, and there is a certain amount that can be filled under state statute, but it's really up to the DNR whether or not that can happen. One of the conditions in the preliminary plat is that if they are unable to obtain wetland permits, those lots cannot be listed for sale. So the onus is on the developer to make sure that that is followed through, but the rest of the wetland issues would have to be approved by the DNR because they have jurisdiction over filling the wetlands.
Thank you. Any other discussion, trustee Lancaster?
And just to follow up on that, because if I'm looking at this right, it actually looks like, again, there's only so much the village can do. So it looks like we're doing what we can here, where we're saying that condition 6 here, no lots may be sold until wetland permits. So really, they can't do anything here until they satisfy any wetland issues with the DNR. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then my only other question that I have here is, I believe, in speaking with the village manager earlier today, she had spoken with the developer and they are going to be putting, or willing to put sidewalks on North Shore. And I believe that that should be a condition here as well, just with that, correct? Makes sense. I know it's not a surprise to them either. Could you talk with them about it or in the discussion?
Yeah, we had a discussion and those lots at frontage North Shore would have sidewalks. So you can add that as a condition of the board so chooses, and we'll make sure we get it as part of the final plat.
Okay. Then I'm gonna make an amendment that we add condition 21, that there must be sidewalks along North Shore.
So we got a motion to amend the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There is a second by Grantmeyer.
I second the.
And just in clarification, those sidewalks along North Shore are those
Four
four
seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the line on this.
Yeah, but I got it right here, village manager. So just the lots that that are part of this property, there's other things that are not, so 30.
37, 39, 38, and 65.
Yeah, and then I guess something along the outlot though too, so they can
That
get to the
would
point.
be, you know, we'll work with the developer.
Right, I mean, the village might have to help and do something there, but right, that it's all the way to the old highway trail, I would.
So technically, trustee Brantmeyer, having seconded the original motion, cannot second the amendment. Is that correct? That's not correct. So he can, okay, so we have a motion to amend and a second by trustee Lancaster and a second by trustee Brantmeyer. We're gonna have to do a roll call vote on that. So
One can be electronic,
any further discussion on the amendment?
one can be electronic voting, one needs to be.
I can't hear you.
One can be an electronic vote. The original motion should be an electronic vote,
Yes,
and the second one would be a roll call vote.
yes. So this one will be a roll call.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on the amendment. Trustee Lancaster?
Aye.
Aye. So the amendment to the motion passes. Back to the original motion, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? If not, please vote your ballot. Oh, sorry.
I have one question. I believe 4 existing lots along Lake Shore Drive. That this goes up to between around behind, I don't know, past.
Or existing ones
what's-
in North Shore.
Yes, on the east side. What impacts with these decision sidewalks? Will that have on those existing homes?
There will be no sidewalks at those locations. We're only dealing with the properties that have been developed as part of this subdivision. Those unplatted lots will stay just like they are.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Trustee Lancaster, yes.
Okay, just one more thing. I do want to thank the gentleman for coming and speaking. It's really good to hear from the public, and also thank the public that submitted comments, because I think those comments did definitely help shape this final product and voting on tonight very much so. So Glad to see the new process.
Okay, please vote your ballot. Okay, we have a unanimous vote on this item. Next up is 12C.
This is a certified survey map for Benjamin and Elizabeth Manhandle. For W 6182 and W 6172 Brick Lane, parcels 46780 and 46782. And the motion is to approve the certified survey map, requested as submitted.
We're gonna need a motion in a second.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the certified survey map, CSM, Benjamin Elizabeth Panhandle, W 6182 is W 6172 Brick Lane. Parcels 46780, 46782 is printed and circulated.
It's got a motion by Van Hefty.
I'll second.
We got a second by trustee Baldwin. Discussion?
All I would say is they're taking two lots, and because they're kind of narrow lots and feeding them together because they, the house that they're proposing would have, the lot line would have went through the middle of the house, and we don't allow that, so that's, they own both of them, so there's combining with one lot.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, please vote your ballot. And we have a vote and it passes unanimously. Item 12D.
This is to appoint an interim village clerk while the village. The motion is to approve the deputy clerk, deputy treasurer, HR officer Megan Winkler as of May 19th, 2025 as the interim village clerk.
Okay, gonna need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve deputy clerk treasurer HR officer Megan Winkler as of May 19, 2025 as the interim village clerk.
Okay, we got a motion by trustee Baldwin
I'll second.
and we got a second by trustee Van Hefty. Discussion. If no further discussion, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Agenda item 12E.
Resolution B 2025-10, to Harrison Utilities Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for the reporting period of 2024. And the motion is to approve B 2025-10, accepting the Harrison Utilities Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for the reporting period of 20.
Looking for a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve B 2025-10, accepting Harrison Utilities Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for the period, reporting period of 2024 as printed and circulated.
We got a motion by trustee Baldwin.
I'll second it.
Got a second by trustee Grandmeyer. Discussion. Trustee Lancaster.
Just for Brandon, is there any issues that we should be aware of here, since a lot of this is more technical from your mouth, recognize that you have more than we have warned?
Sure, yeah, so the CMAR is a sewer report that every utility has to file with the DNR. So there's two sections to it, there's the financial section and the operational section. So financial section, as you may recall from last year, we had scored a C in that. Because one of the main criteria is having a rates review, and they kind of have a score scale there. And so since Ellers had done that review last year, that kind of took care of that financial portion of the report. As far as the maintenance go, I would say things, continue as usual. Probably the largest maintenance item we discussed with Chad is the issue with the force main along the Station 3, which is still, ongoing discussions. But outside of that, jetting and televising program has been going well, and able to identify some manholes or areas that would have leakage into the system, inflow and infiltration into the system, and our operators are working to prioritize, looking at the cost to repair those versus, what's coming into the system that ultimately gets conveyed to the plant that has to be treated. So there's some benefit to trying to reduce that inflow into the system. So prioritizing, projects as they arise out of that televising.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, let's vote our ballots. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have 12F.
This is resolution B 2025-11, authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed 9.5 million general obligation promissory notes. And the motion is to approve resolution B 2025-11, authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed 9.5 million general obligation promissory notes.
Okay, gonna need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution B 2025-11, authorizing the insurance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed 9.5 million general obligation promissory notes. It's printed certainly.
So we have a motion by Van Hefty
Well, second.
and we got a second by trustee Teal. Discussion. There's no further discussion. Go ahead and vote your ballot. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12G.
Final acceptance by Harrison Utilities of the water and sewer infrastructure in the Breezy Meadow subdivision in the village of Harrison. The motion is to approve the final acceptance of the water and sanitary sewer infrastructure in the Breezy Meadow subdivision located in the.
We're gonna need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve.
So we got a motion by trustee Lancaster,
A second?
a second by trustee Baldwin. Discussion? Anything further than what's in the memo?
No.
Okay. No other further discussion, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have 12H.
Approval of gas-fired hot water pressure washer for the new wash bay at the Department of Public Works. And the motion is to approve the purchase of the gas-fired hot water pressure washer for the new wash bay at Department of Public Works for $10,675.49.
Okay, gonna need a motion in a second.
So make a motion to approve, and current simply and on capital money.
Got a motion by trustee Lancaster.
I'll second it.
We got a second by trustee Brantmeyer. Discussion? If none, let's go ahead and vote our ballots. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have 12I.
Approval of new clean energy furnace, tank and stands and installation of Department of Public Works. And the motion is to approve the purchase of the new clean energy furnace, tank stands and installation for the new bays at the Department of Public Works for $51,500.
Okay, we're gonna need a motion in a second.
I'll make that motion. Do I need to read the whole thing again? It's a motion.
We have a motion by trustee Brantmeyer or Baldwin, sorry.
I'll second it.
And then a second by trustee Van Hefty. Discussion?
If I can, under the discussion, one of the questions I got is, do we get a lot of waste oil? And we do receive a lot of waste oil all summer long, and we save it in a tank and then burn it. So we'll have 3 of these heaters heating that garage. That'll be the main source of heat. There is some radiant heat in the floors in certain areas, but otherwise the waste oil that we collect from residents is what we burn for fuel.
Is there a quantified number as far as how much we bring in for waste oil?
Probably is. I don't have that on. I'd have to get back to you, but people are bringing jugs here all the time.
Okay. Okay, if no further discussion, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have 12J.
Approval of Century Fence Company to install new fencing at Harrison Athletic Association Westfield. And the motion is to approve Century Fence Company bid for $50,698 to replace fencing around the west ball diamond at the Harrison Athletic Complex.
Okay, gonna need a motion in a second for this.
Motion to approve the bid for Century Fence.
I'll second it.
So we got a motion by trustee Lancaster and a second by trustee Brantmeyer. Any discussion?
Just under discussion, so under the agreement that we have with HAU, they have to have an in-kind contribution, so they will be removing all the fencing out there. There's probably gonna be, some help from Public Works this fall, just pulling the concrete out, the posts out of the concrete. But overall, they're gonna manage that process, and then the new fencing will be installed, in September, October timeframe when the ball fields are done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have 12K.
This is the approval of Western Star 47X plow truck. And the motion is to approve the ordering of a Western Star 47X plow truck to be added to the fleet in 2027 for $162,419.
Okay, gonna need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordering of the truck as previously circulated.
We have a motion by trustee Baldwin,
I second.
got a second by trustee Teal. Any discussion?
This is just one of these items that takes a long time to get somewhere to a fire truck. And if we wait till 2027 over, you're not gonna see them until 2030. So we're trying to stay ahead of the game and get the order of the truck here so we can try to take delivery by 2027.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Item 12L.
Acceptance of the 2025 stipend grant from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for $21,879.71. And the motion is to approve the 2025 recycling grant for $21,879.21 from the Wisconsin DNR.
Is that 71 or 21?
One of them says 71, one says 21.
It is 70.
Okay, thank you, 71.
I mean, want to be shortchanged.
So it's 71,879?
21,879.71.
I was just giving her some.
Motion to approve.
What was that? Who was that? Trustee Lancaster made a motion,
I'll second.
and we got a second by trustee Van Happy. Any discussion on this item? If not, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12M.
Approved job description for village clerk / human resources director. And the motion is to approve the job description for the village clerk / human resources director.
I'll make a motion to approve the job description for the village clerk / human resources director.
So we have a motion by trustee Baldwin.
I have a question on this one.
We need a second, and then we can get into discussion.
I'll second.
Then we have a second by trustee Brantmeyer. Discussion?
Yeah, using the word director. Is that appropriate for that position?
It was similar job descriptions that we had gotten. I think, there's another trustee that would like to see it be a manager, so we're all right with changing it to human resources manager.
Okay, that sounds more. It's usually a director, pay more pay, Aaron, and the manager is more consistent with the job duties of that position in the office here.
Correct.
Okay,
We're just changing it to manager.
So do we
I
need,
should amend the motion.
Okay. so we're gonna need a motion to amend this, change the word director to manager.
yeah, I'll make the motion to amend, the job description from village clerk human resources from director to, manager.
Just got a motion
I'll second that.
and we got a second by trustee Lancaster. So for the amendment of the motion, we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start on this end.
Hi.
Aye.
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 So the amendment passes. Any further discussion on the job description or the title? If not, please vote your ballots. And the motion passes unanimously. On to item 12N.
This is the 2025-2026 alcohol and tobacco license application. The motion is that staff recommends that all applications on the presented list be approved for a 2025-2026 alcohol and or tobacco license.
Okay. Gonna need a motion and a second on this.
So moved.
So we got a motion by trustee Deal
I'll second.
and then a second by trustee Brandmeier. Any discussion?
I got it.
Trustee Ben Hefty?
I think it's very good that we put the whole list of them. Instead of going one by one. So this is, good job by staff by doing this, and makes it a lot easier for the board to do it versus randomize one by one, which would take a long time.
Yes, so,
Great job.
yes, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, please vote your ballot. And we have a motion passes 6-5 to 5-4 and 1 abstention. So motion passes. Moving on to 12O.
This is a follow-up discussion on the comprehensive plan update after the joint meeting on May 20th, 2025. And there's no motion for this. This is just discussion.
Okay, Chad, you want to start the discussion off?
Sure, so we had a joint meeting on, last week, Tuesday the 20th, each of the planning commission and the, board of trustees, and I don't want to speak for the rest of them, but I think it was a good discussion. I think there was a lot of good information kind of shared. We talked about the consultants shared the PowerPoint, which is available on the village website, of the changes that have been made, suggestions on kind of where we got rid of the medium density and talked about the different land uses and things. And I think overall it seemed like it was a good discussion. I think we're hopefully on track to try to get this wrapped up. The goal is to get this maybe in for final adoption at the July meeting. And then we can start implementing the future land use map. But other than that, I thought it was a good discussion. I don't know if there's any other trustees that want to share in on that discussion, but there wasn't a lot of substantial changes, but you do have time. We're giving people until June 16th to submit any comments that they might have for the kind of the last round of.
Can we put a something out on the Facebook page or on the village website to ask for more feedback, and they have till
We have done that immediately after it's been on our meeting, and there'll be a Facebook post, I think, on our website. There'll be a Facebook post coming out on it either today or tomorrow. And that it would be driving people back to that, and we said that we would take final comments to June 16th.
so fellow board members, please have your feedback. You want to, within the next 2 weeks, you think?
It would be nice. So we could wrap it up for the June meetings and then spend some time going through the text. And then get the, everybody on board with that and then for final adoption in July.
Right, so I invite our board members to get your feedback and then. You want to get a hold of Tammy, make sure the planning commission gets a message to,
I've already shared it with them, yep.
okay, that's all I have. Trustee Lancaster?
Just on two questions, on the text amendments, I guess, what is like the overall process to some of that, like just getting, there's a lot of detail in there. Things like number of apartment units that we have, just stuff like that.
So I tried to spend a couple weeks going through.
Right, there's a lot there, so.
I mean, typically an update, state statute doesn't say what an update is supposed to be. So from past, it would be just kind of updating demographic data, really, and population estimates and that kind of stuff versus a complete rewrite of all of the text of what you would do like every 20 years. So I think if you have comments or you see stuff, just send them my way and I'll go through it and make sure that I've gone pretty much word by word through there with the consultant, but if you see stuff, let us know. And if we, if time allows, we get it updated and get it as best as we can. As we know, the real focus of this was the land use map, because that drives the decision making. The text is there, a lot of times the text is used in grant applications and, different things in the future, but the real, crux of this is the future land use.
Fair enough. So then my other question is. Are we planning on then removing all the medium density under and changing that to low density, or is there still some debate or motions that we need to come for that, or where are we at with for sure on?
The group talked about it and I took it that there was a feel from some of the planning commission members to not get rid of all of the medium density. At this point, I haven't made any, real changes to them unless I would say if we come forward with the items in June and the board really feels adamant about it, then we can make some motions and see if the board is on board as a whole to remove. But there was discussion between the board and the planning commission and on those certain areas, and there wasn't any real, hard decisions, if you will, to remove.
Most of the heavy or the medium density housing that was east of State Park Road was eliminated, and that seemed to be something that everyone kind of agreed to. My question still remains, and I don't know how to do this. I did talk to the consultant after the village board portion, and I had asked them if they would be able to put together some sort of quantifying numbers as far as what we would look like if we have X amount of residential growth or, commercial growth. What is, looking at a land use map, it doesn't tell me what's the goal, right? If this is a 20-year plan, is the goal to increase assessed value? Is it population? What's the goal of this, So I challenged him to come back the next time we meet, kind of outline what would look like based on the land use map. It's not easy, but having talked in the East Central, they have actually tools. Northeast Central Planning Commission, they have tools available, but the consultant said they know a firm up in Minneapolis that uses AI to kind of look at a map and say, hey, this is what your population or your assessed value. So I'm looking forward to that because, and I don't know if it's going to be something that we put as part of this update, or if that's something where we want to maybe do that for a brand new comp plan for coming up. So, but for me, I'm a numbers guy. I want to see what these numbers would look like in 5 years, 10 years, assuming that, we're going to hit our marks. And what are those marks, right? So
Okay,
I guess I would just like to see that when this comes back in June, that it's posted in such a manner that we can make motions. Whether or not, because I do have a couple motions around this that I will be making, whether or not they get a second or pass, it's up to this board then, but. I believe that the medium density housing should be completely removed. There is, just based on all the comments I've seen and heard from people, because medium density can be pretty dense housing. You've got a long state park there to the west yet. And then there's quite a bit of medium density when you start going west of Coop. And then I also believe the mixed use should be changed to commercial on here. Because mixed use can also have apartments and people do not, I mean, I realize there's some that have already been zoned and
so
so.
built by the industrial and influence the Appleton industrial.
Yes.
So not knowing who's gonna wanna live there, I don't think single family is gonna.
No, that's why I was saying commercial.
No, but mixed will give you more
But
options to sell the property
Okay.
for, it includes industrial.
And the board did talk, the board.
So mixed can be both, but
Yes.
commercial and industrial then basically.
Residential.
Because it's.
Yes.
It just gives flexibility, let's say. We sell 90% of it and we got one property that's hanging out there, it's a corner lot, and for some reason. After 4 years, we can't sell it. Or nobody wants to put commercial because it's on a corner or something, at least the mixed use gives us the flexibility for other opportunity.
Okay, I guess they see that maybe up to the industrial park, maybe then my other question would be, I guess, along in there though.
The board talked about that too, and they were pretty, the planning commission and the board were pretty adamant about keeping that flexible, not knowing what that was going to be.
But ultimately, too, this is a land use map. Everything still has to go through the normal process for rezoning, which is going through the planning commission. Getting the 30-day public review. Actually, let me rephrase that. It goes to the board as being an item that's gonna trigger the 30-day public review, then it goes to the planning commission and ultimately back to the village board. So this is just a future land use map, so it's still, everything has to come before the normal process before it gets changed. So just keep that in mind too.
I guess the bigger thing is the medium density housing up everything, I guess, so for me anyway.
And I think there was presented in by the consultant that was something that was brought up by the people who were here. What was it, over 50% of the people had negative comments about the density of the housing that was in there. So
Right, so that's why I think that's the very, I guess the mixed use, maybe there's enough explanation there that makes sense, but for sure, I believe the medium density should get changed to low based on that, because that's what I've heard resounding from people exactly that. They don't want the dense housing, they want to have more rural feel out here, so.
Yep.
That's it.
Could I? Comment on
Sure.
that, on the medium density. You mentioned that there wasn't a lot of changes to the map. I thought they were significant. And in a proper manner, in the significant reduction of medium density. Which there was a lot of feedback, mine included, it should be reduced. Is it too restrictive if we just say none? For future growth, to me, it's, you're really restricting, again, options. In what you might do, again, like you said, it's a roadmap. It's not, there are not gonna be any rezoning. Actions taken on this map until, a concept becomes a plan. So I would just question whether eliminating.
It's not absolute though. It's just a guide.
When eliminating medium density altogether from the map is too restrictive.
just like us.
Yeah, I guess the question would be, that's a good point. Let's just say we would, this is hypotheticals, but let's just say we would remove medium density altogether from the map. But if there was a given project that would come forward that staff and the board felt was worthwhile that would need to fit into a medium density. Maybe it's a more dense senior housing type thing or something like that. At that point, we could amend, there's a process, right? We could amend this would be a little more, gives a little more public involvement at that point because it's gotta be published and all that I realize then. But I think that's good because then we would do an amendment to amend it back from low to medium with a lot more public involvement because you're doing an amendment to make sure it really is the right decision for the village, right?
You could do that, but what's to say that you guys are gonna be the same?
Well, whoever the board is here, whatever the board is here is what I'm saying at that time. Correct, because who knows who's gonna be here, but whatever the board is, whatever the staff is at that time, that there's that process. I'm just saying, based off the feedback we're hearing.
You're probably never gonna get medium housing because they're gonna look at the map and not see it and never, push. The people typically don't go that direction. They, maybe go the other way from trying to get it from medium down to less, but to go from less to medium is something of that. Going up versus down is on anything. Well, we can talk about it in June.
I mean, is there a way to get some more public feed? I mean, to narrow this in a little bit more, like,
You can't, so we talked with the consultant and
I'm just trying to.
he said that the open houses and the feedback was more than what he'd seen in other communities. He said that when they redid their comp plan for Climate County and 0 people showed up.
But
Nobody showed up. So when we had over 100 comments and people in this room for 2 straight hours, going through the different apps and commenting, he was really surprised about how engaged, at least compared to past experiences he's had in updating comp plans. So I don't know what we're looking for. I mean, we've had an open house, we've sent postcards to everybody. I don't know how else we can get any more feedback
yeah,
other than going door to door.
I guess that's just where when I hear over 50% didn't want medium density housing, that's just where I guess I'm really having that stick with me then of people's wishes. Which is why I guess I feel that way of trying to then.
Did you see the updates, the presentation of the updates that he made?
Yeah, and we did, I mean, this came a lot, I mean, this used to be, I mean, I got the new map here too, yeah, I mean, this used to be way. I mean, there's a lot that's been taken off of here, right, there's no doubt, it's.
You still need,
I mean, we're
you
gonna-
still need growth.
Okay.
Okay.
And like I said, this is just an amendment to a revision to our current comp plan. So,
Yeah, I guess last comment I have here, then I guess is, right, I mean, you need some growth. I really do think we need to look at what is Harrison trying to be? What are we trying to make Harrison, those goals? How much population are we really trying to add? Because I don't think, you've got to have some growth, yes, but I don't think people want the rapid growth that we've had. And people want it slowed down. So what does slow it down mean exactly? So what goals translate into slow it down?
which is why I had asked for the benchmarks, right? What's it gonna look like in 5 years? So that when we hit that goal, then we could, as a board, say, okay, maybe it's time to look at this after 5 years and take out more orange area off of the map, right? And put more purple
And
in.
I think it's safe to say that, every 3 to 5 years, we should be, the way the community is changing. We should be looking at this and seeing what needs to be updated. It's gonna have to be a process that's done pretty regularly. Unlike most communities that can go 10 and 20 years, we don't have a ton.
Yeah.
So I think we just have to keep our pulse tuned as things change. We don't know if we're gonna, get into a recession or not, or where the, economy is going and how that's gonna affect everything. And so we have to be fluid and kind of move through it as as we were throwing the fluid balls. Or if life continues, then, we make that decision as well.
So again, I'm looking forward to getting this wrapped up. I know we've gotten a lot of feedback. I know Chad, you been working pretty diligently on this, and the planning commission up to speed now, so I guess let's continue the process, and any changes, let's get them over to Chad and Josh so they can take that feedback, and I'm looking forward to one more communication out to the residents to provide more feedback. So obviously, more feedback, the better, you know. You give one last shot out to the constituents to provide that feedback, and we're gonna have to wrap this up.
I agree with you, definitely looking forward to getting this wrapped up so we can look at the zoning that we need to look at as well, and get our zoning code fixed. I thought should weigh into a complete rewrite actually, so.
That's coming up pretty soon.
That's the next one.
All right, moving on to the next item. Is 12E, is that right?
So this is the approval of cancellation agreement and mutual release for lot 5 in Crossroads Business Park, parcel 47018. And the motion is to approve the cancellation agreement and mutual release for lot 5 in the Crossroads Business Park, parcel number 47018.
Okay, I'm gonna need a motion and a second on this.
I'll make a motion to approve the cancellation agreement.
Got a motion by trustee Baldwin,
I'll second.
got a second by trustee Steele. Chad, I just maybe wanna,
Yeah, let
Give
me
it to
see,
you.
so the developer, Tom Van Zeeland had reached out and said that his business, so Winnebago and recreational vehicles. Businesses and the sales have been lower than what he anticipated, and he doesn't know that he can bring out a budget for this. So I did talk to the village attorney on this. And we didn't have any earnest money, we could hold him accountable. However, if he doesn't, I would hate to go through all the work of closing on the property and then having to buy it back from him and going back through all the work to buy it back. So we are kind of agreeing on a mutual release where we'll just take it back. This is the easiest, simplest way to get this done. I do have a couple other interested parties that are looking at it, so it'll just be a matter of time before bringing another option before you to sell it to someone else.
yeah, I agree. So any other discussion on this? If not, let's go ahead and vote your ballot. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 12Q.
Approval of vacant offer to purchase lot 12 in the Crossroads Business Park. And the motion is to approve the vacant offer to purchase for lot 12 in the Crossroads Business Park.
Chad?
So this is,
Oh, first let me get a motion and a second on this.
Make a motion, Richard, circulate.
Okay, we got a motion by trustee Brandmeier,
I'll second.
and we got a second by trustee Teal. Okay, Chad, go ahead.
the board had previously approved a letter of intent with Pro Edge Cabinets to build a new building for their cabinetry shop on this location. So this is the actual contract to purchase the land for $44,520, and staff would recommend it.
Any discussion? Trustee Lancaster?
Just to comment that, page 224, there will need to be a yes response, and we have a yes box, so just, I might talk to the village manager, just so the board's aware that, make sure the final paperwork has that.
Yeah, I was supposed to disclose that there's protected covenants in the yes box, so I will add that in the show it with the $7.
And my other question is, like, if they're on somebody, when are businesses like this able to start construction?
So they, there's a number of them that will be coming forward. One of the protected covenants is that they need to have their site plan and drawings approved by the board. So I think starting in June, we're gonna see some of those or some that are very close. And then once those are approved, then there'll be closing scheduled shortly thereafter, and working found on it. The construction is well underway to be done here. It's in a gravel state, the road right now, and they're doing some kind of touch-up work over there, but I'd say the majority of it's done, so we can start selling the land now and getting these projects going.
Yeah, wonderful.
Any further discussion? Okay. Go ahead and vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12R.
This is an amendment to offer to purchase for lot 6 in the Crossroads Business Park. And the motion is to approve the amendment to offer to purchase for lot 6 in the Crossroads Business Park.
So we need a motion and a second. So we got a motion by trustee Teal,
No, second.
got a second by trustee Van Hefty. Discussion,
This is just pushing out the closing of this property until September 2025. Because the business owner is working with the small business administration and it's taking a little bit longer than he anticipated.
any other discussion? If not, go ahead and vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Last item, 12S.
This is a special event permit for Brody, for this. For the Silva Soundgarden, staff recommends approving a special event permit for allowing June events to occur. Pending receiving the certificate of insurance prior to June 5th, 2020.
And so we have a report here related to this.
Yep, so that came in after the board packet went out. It was the one call that they found in 2024. And I mean, if you read it, it sounds like the officer sat there for 5 minutes and didn't consider it a nuisance.
Sure. So
I'll make a motion to approve the special event permit for the purpose.
it's got a motion by trustee Baldwin. Get a second,
I'll second it.
we get a second by trustee Van Hefty. Discussion,
Under discussion, I should also note that this is, the board has to approve special events, but under the zoning ordinance, they do need to fill out temporary use permits for each one of these dates. And pay $100 fee, so that will be coming after this as well.
okay. Trustee Baldwin,
Thank you. One last thing, I don't know the person, but he lives about 2 miles down the road from me, and I think he's been doing this for a really long time and I never hear anything, like no complaints or anything, so. I don't know how he does it, but something's wrong.
The event has been going on, excuse me, for several years,
Yeah,
as you said. I don't recall much for incidents there related to these events.
he's kind of out in the middle of the field and it just, nobody cares.
I think should have more of these events. It's just an opportunity for people to unwind out in the country, I mean. It's my opinion. Trustee Lancaster,
My only question, just looking at the number of people. And also with the craft and flea market, it seems like there's a potential business aspect to this as well. From a business aspect standpoint, what does our zoning code? Like a craft and flea market with 150 people in attendance, are they, for example, are they selling spots? And if you're selling spots, now you're a business. I have no problem with them doing this, but I just want to make sure they're following our zoning code.
Well, he doesn't, I mean, it's really, we're really looking at it from not necessarily a business, from a resident that's doing events. Everything is, I don't even know if he charges for the space or how he does that, but it's pretty much a, low profit kind of operation, so. I don't know that in the zoning ordinance as a non-business entity with a special event permit and a temporary use permit, you can do these types of events.
If I may, I think his estimates are also high. If you look at the one police report, it says approximately 50 to 60 people were at that event. I think he he went high on his estimates just to kind of cover himself.
I mean, we're not talking hundreds of people and traffic and all that kind of stuff, so I don't know, 50, 60 people, I mean. I don't know,
We have that at its park shelter.
what's that?
You can have that at the Darwood Park Shelter for drainage.
Should be my issue.
Any other further discussion? If not, let's go ahead and vote our ballot. And the motion passes unanimously.
Should tell you, you're gonna see them coming back because there is events in July and August, and each took on the month of June to start with.
Okay,
So if we do have issues during the month of June, then we can address them in the later months.
okay. So on to future agenda items, any future agenda items that the board would like you?
More of a clarification, I know we've got that listening session coming up in July. And one of the things, with public engagement, I wonder if there's a way for us to be able to ask questions of whoever shows up, like, how do we get more people to respond? To me, this comp grant is a big deal and the land use is a big deal, and 106 was a good number, but out of all the people we have, so I don't know what your plan is for the structure of that. I think it's a good idea, but I don't know if there's a way for us to get back information.
I think I asked Chad to mention also in a post on social media on the village website, this is an opportunity for people to comment on the comp plan as well as bring up anything else they so choose. I mean, this is going to be,
We had talked about this kind of being not just the board talking to the public, but the public talking to the board and having dialogue back and forth.
Okay,
So
good,
that we can, hear from the people and have a good conversation around certain topics.
good, thank you, okay.
and just for everyone to be able, we will be dropping board rules for that meeting, so we can have that open dialogue with the audience and us with them and them with us, so it was the first time we're doing this, so we'll see how it goes and we'll make adjustments for the next one then. I just figure July is a perfect opportunity to give us one last round of feedback on the future land use map, then also any issues that the residents have prior to the budgeting process. It's a good opportunity. I think you guys start your budgeting process, what, in September, October timeframe?
That's it. Hoping for a
So at least, we'll get some feedback from the residents before we get into our budget meetings. So if there's any opportunities for us to add to the budget process, any of the concerns or issues that the residents have, that would be a perfect opportunity then for them to bring it up.
Thank you.
Any future agenda items? Yeah. Trustee Lancaster.
Just wondering and asking from a staff capacity as well, but for the discussion of extending Eisenhower Drive to Woodland Road. We had this back in January. Are we able to get that on the agenda for June so we can start discussing? So I'm thinking of things like authorizing the village manager if he feels comfortable, to knock on Joe Schreiber's door himself, for example. Maybe he answers the door, maybe they don't. Things like that. As we get into budget time and stuff, there could be some time involved in some of that, so I just think we need to get going on some of that sooner than later to follow proper protocols. The board should be authorizing things. Okay, is that possible?
We'll get on the June agenda.
And then the East Central Planning Commission had done a modeling of the traffic modeling around Eisenhower and what that would look like. So you might want to follow up with Melissa on that. She said she would be able to give that to you.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like we have a future meeting. June 10th won't be the village board, this will be just board of review, right?
That is correct.
And then The next meeting is June 24th, 2025.
I'm clarifying question as well, so since June 10th is only board review, we're meeting, I think the way it was advertised in the newsletter at 5:45 versus 6, is that correct?
Yes, it was gonna be 15 minutes before the board.
Right, so this, so,
So the time is accurate, it's just the.
right, just so that those of us that have to be here, I just want to double check so that we're.
Yes, 45, yes,
The planning commission still on the 17th.
that is correct.
So you have to get out of work 15 minutes early to be here.
And you're gonna want me to say two double thing and leave.
All right, I'm gonna need a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion by trustee Baldwin,
Second.
second by trustee Lancaster. We'll do a roll call vote.
Just, right?
It's fine.
Aye.
Right.
All right, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
So that's the whole next.
Sure.